Hello, happy Tuesday. Welcome back to the practice. This show is an unrehearsed look into my creative process. I'm Stuart. I'm a 3D artist, illustrator, designer, and your pal. And I'm excited to have you back for another episode this week. So we're back into Adobe Medium, playing around in VR. Let me know if everything sounds all right, if you can hear me. I got the chat open. Today we're going to be working on a little, like a tree-centric scene, a neat little nature scene. We're going to have some plants and some rocks. And it's all going to be sort of arranged around a tree. So I'm going to go into the primitives brushes and just grab this kind of oval shape. I'm going to start just roughing out kind of some of the main features of the top of the tree. I'm going to work in layers here too so that everything stays nice and flexible. I'm going to work fairly small or low resolution for the time being. So let's start with something that simple, right? I'm just going to make another layer, go back to this circular brush, and let's even grab a different color. How are we doing out there? No one's saying hi in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you've ever even tried VR. Is this something that resonates with you guys and is interesting to see? So I think, at least for me, this organic type of modeling is where the addition of VR just like really shines. It's I don't know. I imagine it'd be a little harder to make use of this for more hard surface modeling. Although I've seen some really cool stuff come out of Gravity Sketch. So obviously it can be done. But for things like adding to a tree trunk, for example, really seems to work well. And what I'm going to do is I want to make like a little root system that comes out, but it's great to have a like a base, like a ground to arrange that upon first. So let's go. So I'm going to make sort of like a little pedestal. It almost look like a floating island. Maybe we should go to, let's see, houseware. Get a nice plate for me. I don't think I've actually ever been into this category. There's a lot of crazy brushes. And I think you can add your own brushes too. Or stamps, they call them, actually. Let's see. Actually, maybe I was good. Yeah. Already. And maybe it's worth setting up. Let's see. Constraints. How do we do that in here? So angle snap. And that way I know I'm doing this at, an angle that's perpendicular to the ground. This is going to keep us organized, sort of. Let's see, how big do we want this thing? How about like that? And I can just sort of rearrange this tree. I think what I'll actually do as well is make another layer. Oops, I accidentally did that. So another layer, and then turn off this crazy brush. Back to our sphere, and let's turn angle snap off. I'm just going to add a little bit of variety to the surface here. Sort of build up a little hill. And this is going to give us something to, curve the roots around. All right, looks like we're streaming. Chat is open. Let me know, guys. Say hello. All right, now let's get back here. Actually, might be helpful first to change the colors. Turn that to stomp. And let's make it sort of a darker color. Cool. I can just double click this top button on my dominant hand to sample a color. And let's make sure we're on the right layer. And we're going to be the chunk's starting to look pretty cool, actually. So what I'm going to do is add a lot more detail to this top section here. So let's add another layer. Let's go ahead and sample that color. And actually, let's make it, whoa. Let's make it slightly different. And actually, I think I'm going to go back to this kind of oval stamp. Let's make a new layer. All right. I'm going to use the same shape because I like to, create harmony with repetition of forms. And I started by just blocking out where I wanted the main parts of the tree to be. But now you can see we're going to add a lot of surface detail to this. Just going to make it read a lot more like a tree. And I guess I'm always sort of interested in using much more primitive shapes, much more simplified, reductive forms in large quantities to describe natural organic forms. I think there's sort of beauty in finding a way to simplify. I also feel like there's a lot of 3D artists out there going for kind of really realistic results, and a lot of that is very beautiful and very inspiring. I also feel like this is a way I can sort of carve my own little space out for myself. And I think it, my years of study and practice as a graphic designer, I think probably also informed sort of reductive influence in my work. So now let's go in with the negative brush, and we might need to increase the resolution. I'm going to do that. Try to work as low res as I can in the beginning. Let's go once more. Let's get the definition we want on some of these erases. I want to make sure we've got the fidelity we need. That's another thing that I think that's great about Medium and working in VR is it's really quick to make surface detail like this. What I'll probably do, depending on how quickly this goes, what I'll probably wind up doing is taking this model next week and bringing it into Cinema and texturing it in Octane and making a little rendering. And so that being said, I should also mention that, I've got rough color in here, but I'm not going to worry about color a ton. Really not much at all, to be honest, until we get into Cinema. A lot of times in this part of the process, I'm only using color to make it easier for me to see different parts of the model. Whoops, too big. All right, that's kind of cool. Maybe we can go a little deeper on the surface detail. I'm going to make another layer. Go back to a positive shape here. I'm just going to work smaller. I'm going to start getting stuff off the surface of the tree a little bit there. I think breaking stuff up really looks good. That was maybe too big. It's kind of tucked in here. What do we think of those? Yeah, I like those. They're working. I also really like working in threes. You may have noticed that if you've watched the practice much at all. Look at this. I missed detailing this guy. Well, there's something about odd numbers that just seems to work better in arranging things. 3s and 5s, 3s and 5s. Also had a creative director who kind of drilled that into my head earlier on into my career. And I don't know, it seems to work. It's looking kind of cool. I think it's got a little bit of a lean to it. I think that's okay for a tree, right? Trees are not straight up and down. All right, cool. I'm liking that. So let's make a new layer. And let's start texturing some of this ground here. Let's see. What do I want to use to do that? I know I can start just some simple sort of bushes. Another thing, speaking of surface detail, being able to hit surface and being able to draw directly onto a surface is really amazing. I love that. I love that feature. And I can focus on just, not on positioning, but just kind of drawing nice little squiggles. And so these are going to be just kind of low-lying foliage, nondescript, shrubby kind of dudes. And like doing this with splines or something like that in cinema would just be a really time-consuming thing. And I think they would feel more rigid. They would not have this kind of hand-drawn quality to them. So what I'm also going to do is there's a stamp I made. Let's see, so I'm going to like custom. Oh, didn't get that. Cool. So there was this little plant that I made. I'll just plop one down. Let's try to do it on the surface. That's weird. Let's turn surface off for a moment. And should probably grab a new layer. See, all I did here was I used that same shape we used up in the tree. And let's increase the resolution there. So you can see it. And then use a simple little cylinder. And I modeled this shape. And then with that selected, you just go here and you hit, where is it, stamp. And whatever you have in that layer will create a stamp out of it, and that'll go in your custom folder. And then I can just start placing these, which is really cool. So I can just make a little plant shape or a little leaf shape or whatever you want. And still a little low res. Let's increase that. Now I can just drop in this pre-sculpted plant into a lot of positions. It's kind of like making instances, I guess. What are you doing? It's weird that it won't draw. Maybe I'm outside of the bounds. I guess it is outside the bounds. All right, so let's. I'm trying to grab, actually, that's everything. Manipulate, move. If I move this, oh, that whole bounding box comes with it. Oh, okay. No, it isn't. That works. Great. Let's go back to this. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to move all this over. And then let's go to clay. And just delete those guys. Okay. That was a weird roundabout. We'd only placed 2, though, so not the end of the world. Cool. Cool. And again, at this stage, I'm really just kind of using color to differentiate parts of the model for myself. So I don't know if I'm going to want this yellow as a final color here. Oops. This kind of mossy stuff, I guess we could even try putting a little bit of that on the tree, right? Because sometimes you're going to get moss growing up on a tree like that. I haven't really tried that before, but I like the idea. So let's experiment right now. Live on the internet. Well, I'm not sure anyone even knows we're here. Could someone just drop a comment? Let me know that the chat is working or that I'm even live. That's the tough thing about being in VR. I can't, I guess I could, but it's a little trickier to look for or to, go to the stream and just confirm people are looking. Cool. And this is a little low res and kind of jaggedy, but I actually like the contrast that provides against smoother, higher resolution shapes like we have going on here. So I'm gonna leave that. I'm cognizant of that. I'm gonna leave it. I like it. Cool. Turn that to single. Now I'm just gonna start boop, 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 dropping in these little shapes. Cool. I've got one more idea for a little sort of fungus that we'll use on here. So, wait. New layer. Clay. Go like that. I'm going to keep it on surface. Go back to continuous. We need a little bit more resolution here. So why don't we go to actions? Do that twice. Actually, I want to get a whole new color. Let's just go crazy with the color. Cool. Sort of running out of room here. Add some small groupings of this in. Again, maybe get a little bit up on this trunk. That's weird. Go ahead and save that. Cool. We got a lot of fun low-lying detail on this disc here. A fairly richly textured, and I mean that in the visual sense, not the technical sense of actually adding texture to a 3D model, of course. We've got a pretty cool form and sort of repetition of shapes in the trunk. I think what we're going to do is I'm going to quickly export this. And because we stayed sort of low polygon, I'm going to keep this at 100%. I'm going to use an OBJ. I'm going to export that bad boy. Cool. And then I'm going to say thank you, everyone. Next week, we're going to tweak this a little bit in Cinema. We're going to add some texture. And maybe we'll make like a rotating 3D GIF of it or something like that. Or maybe we'll just zoom in and get some nice depth of field and come up with some cool, nicely rendered and lit images. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in. This was fun, quick little sculpting exercise in Medium. I've been able to work a lot quicker, and for organic modeling, like I've mentioned a couple times, has been a really useful addition to my workflow. So this will be a two-parter. We'll pick this model up again next week. If you want to keep up with me and the work that I'm doing, hit me up at DLGNCE on Instagram and Twitter. The website is diligence.studio. New videos every Tuesday. If you want to support the practice and throw a little tip or a recurring donation my way, I would really appreciate that. So check out the link in the description below to learn how you can support the practice and get involved in a larger way. So thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Later.